What's up, everybody? This is Bianca. Welcome to BiancaTown. Thank you so much for joining me again this week to talk about all of the super intense stuff that's going on. I've been reeling. I imagine that you guys are also in your individual ways processing all of this horrific information that just keeps coming at us from all directions. Not necessarily just from the police violence that we've been experiencing, but there's people that are pretty sick right now. There's people who are losing loved ones rapidly. There's a lot of death happening right now, and not just physical death, not just human or animal death, but also the deaths of old ways of being. Transformational death is occurring, a purification. We must go through the process of illumination, and to be illuminated, we must burn away the dross. And so those of us who cannot stand in that flame are choosing to leave for whatever those reasons may be, known or unknown. I understand that there are many of you who are experiencing deep heartache. And I feel your heartache, and I want you to know that you're not alone in what you're feeling. And I know that there are a lot of people who, I talked yesterday about fear and about ideas on and just sort of concepts on fear and how to move toward love instead. And one of my friends responded with, I'm not afraid, I'm angry. And I thought a lot about that because I'm angry too. I've been oscillating sort of between being really sad and heartbroken and disappointed and being angry. And there's a quote that I really like that I read somewhere that I actually hung up on my wall just as a reminder recently, which is, the student gets angry, the master is disappointed. And I've definitely, I felt anger, I've been feeling disappointment, I've been feeling a range of emotions, and I know that everybody else has been too. In order to process anger, if we can recognize what aspects are so violently disappointed that it translates to anger, that's a beginning spot for healing the anger, for accessing the anger, because anger is passion. Anger is an emotion that gets riled up by the ego when we want justice, or when we feel like things are not fair. And things are not fair. There is massive inequality that we're all experiencing, whether that's on a microcosm basis, like in our own lives, or in the macro, hearing about all of the bullshit that's going on around the planet and around the nation. Using your anger constructively is the name of the game right now. And I used my anger this morning to get my ass out of bed and actually make some food, which I didn't want to eat, but I ate anyway, and get fucking dressed and leave my house because it was so heavy in there. I just couldn't even breathe. I was having such a hard time. So I feel a little bit better now that I'm over in the West End Cemetery. I cried some more walking around. And I've been thinking about an affirmation. I've been thinking about how to process anger and use it constructively. And the only thing that came to mind was the Ho'oponopono, which I thought was interesting. And some of you may be familiar with that, some of you may not. It is a 4-part mantra that is, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And because we're living very much in a dimension of time and space where everything that's in turmoil inside of us is being reflected on the outside, so that we can be very clear about what needs to be healed. what needs to be looked at, what needs to be processed, what needs to be forgiven, what needs to be released. And there's a lot of apathy that I think a lot of people have been resistant to admit to having. There's a lot of self-medication that goes on with drinking and smoking weed in an effort to dull the senses and stop the pain that we're experiencing of being human and being on this planet while all of this transition and massive change is occurring. And that's going to add to that anger. It's going to add to the frustration because we're not dealing with our shit. And so part of healing anger is actually looking at the stuff you don't want to look at within the self. And I know this seems counterintuitive, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, I believe, but the work that's going to make the most change, is going to create the most change, is actually personal work, is digging deep into the self, looking at all of our own bullshit, and seeing how all of that gets created in the world around us, and how we are consciously allowing, through apathy, through feeling powerless, for this to continue. That is how we take our power back. We move through those hard areas and we forgive ourselves for everything. And then through the stages, hopefully, again, as I said yesterday, you're working with a practitioner, you are sitting for meditation, you're reading books that are helping you to understand the deeper symbolism in what's occurring, the multiple levels on which everything is occurring. Hopefully, you're listening to music that's uplifting. Hopefully, you're surrounding yourself with people who are supportive of you, and you are supporting others as they go through whatever transition they're going through. We're all in this together. Again, we talked about community I think last week, and I'm going to keep reinforcing community. That's why I'm doing these videos, is to create a network of community, because we have been taught to live separately from each other, and that also creates fear, which leads to anger, worrying about what others have that we don't have, comparing ourselves to others, creating competition. And so for today, again, even though this kind of seems counterintuitive, I'm hoping that you'll just kind of roll with this with me and maybe repeat this to yourself a couple of times, and maybe listen to it being repeated and receive that for yourself. Receive that as if someone were saying it to you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Speak it as if you are being spoken to, because we all need to hear it right now. We all need to be forgiven, and we all need to process this anger out, because it's feeding more of the same. So with that, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.